When many people hear the word nuclear, they picture danger, meltdowns, glowing green waste, or radioactive wastelands. That image has been shaped by science fiction, stories, movies, and video games for decades. But today, nuclear energy stands as one of the safest, cleanest, and most dependable power sources we have on Earth. Today, I will persuade you that nuclear energy is a safer, cleaner, and more reliable energy source than coal or many other renewables, and that it is the key to powering our future. Who here wants reliable energy without destroying the planet? Nuclear can do that. First, I'll discuss the harm that coal has on both our planet and our health. Second, I'll explain the significance behind meeting our growing energy needs in a safe and sustainable way. Third, I'll present the solution, how nuclear, despite its reputation, can safely meet these needs, and how governments can do their part to support its development. And finally, I'll end with a call to action, showing how we as individuals can spread awareness and support the adoption of nuclear energy for a more sustainable energy future. To start, coal is terrible for both us and the environment. According to the U.S. Energy Information Administration, surface mines, also known as strip mines, were the source of about 63% of all coal mined in the United States in 2022. These mines were created using explosives, blowing the tops off of mountains in order to access the coal underneath. This technique scars the landscape, polluting nearby waterways with contaminants from the explosion. And then there's the actual burning of the coal, which results in emissions like sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxides, and particulates, all of which contribute to respiratory illness, smog, and even acid rain. Emissions like mercury and other heavy metals have been linked to both neurological and developmental damage in humans as well as other animals. And according to the site Our World in Data, millions of people die prematurely every year as a result of air pollution caused by burning fossil fuels. Now that we've talked about the harms of burning coal for energy, let's move on to the significance of this problem and its causes. See, our energy needs have increased significantly over the last 10 years, fueled by AI, data centers, and everyday devices, adding massive pressure to our grids. We just aren't producing enough power to keep up. We've turned to cleaner energy sources, but they have their own pitfalls that nuclear doesn't. The sun doesn't always shine, the wind doesn't always blow, so things like solar panels and windmills output depends on the weather. Nuclear, however, can run 24/7 without weather interruptions and can be installed nearly anywhere. Now that we've talked about the significance and causes behind our energy challenges, let's talk about the solution. Now, you may be skeptical about how safe nuclear energy really is. After all, pop culture has painted nuclear energy as dangerous and unpredictable. That's why this next part might surprise you. This is a graph comparing our safest and most dangerous sources of energy with the death rate per terawatt hour from accidents and pollution on the left side and their greenhouse gas emissions on the right. At the very top, we can see coal, responsible for 36% of our global energy, but also responsible for 970 tons of greenhouse gas emissions, 160 times higher than nuclear energy, which is 2 down from the bottom. Now, our perceptions of safety of nuclear energy are strongly influenced by 2 different accidents. Chernobyl in Ukraine in 1986 and Fukushima in Japan in 2011. These were tragic events. However, compared to the millions that die every year from fossil fuels, the final death toll were very low. Some other good news is that according to the World Nuclear Organization, the meltdowns of the past are now physically impossible today. Plus, nuclear waste is now stored securely in dry casks with no risk of leaking into things like water supplies. Nuclear energy results in a whopping 99.9% fewer deaths than coal, 99.7% fewer than oil, and 97.6% fewer than gas. So the benefits are undeniable. So what can our government do about it? Well, first, they need to ease over regulations born from the irrational fear of that makes building plants easier. Originally, regulatory laws regarding nuclear plants were passed out of ignorance and fear. Instead, governments could incentivize more nuclear plants, like the fission reactors that are already powering Virginia at North Anna and Surrey, according to the Virginia Department of Energy. And this has already worked in some cases. According to the World Nuclear Association, countries like France and Sweden have slashed emissions to near zero by embracing nuclear aside other renewables, closing coal plants completely. But now that we've outlined the solution, let's talk about the call to action and what you can do right now. You can do your part by spreading awareness about nuclear's benefits and debunking misinformation. I encourage you to share facts with your friends and family on social media because your voice matters. But also, I ask that you be skeptical. Don't buy into the scary nuclear tropes from video games and movies. Remember, they are for entertainment, not education. In review, I talked about the harm coal causes, the significance of our energy problems, the solutions we can implement, and the call to action. So when we hear the word nuclear, fear often comes first. But fear is not evidence, and in this case, it's outdated. The real danger isn't nuclear energy. The real danger is continuing to rely on power sources that we know are killing millions and damaging our planet and failing to meet our growing energy needs. We face a choice. We can either cling to the myths and shaped by movies and misinformation, or we can choose facts, science, and solutions that actually work. If we want dependable power without destroying the planet, if we want progress without pollution, then the answer is clear. It's time to stop fearing nuclear energy and start using it to power our future. These are my sources. Thank you.